then a button is pressed.
Welcome back to Exalted Essence, Crimes of Nature. Last time, where do I fucking start? Last time the crew, in the middle of the diplomatic envoy meeting at the Pillar of, the Pillar of Rust, the impact site of the Sword of Creation, the diplomatic talks began in earnest, and the crew was there to make sure that everything was going fine, and then things started to get odd. The vibes took a turn, and the crew noticed that the mortal monk, Flowing River, that had been assisting with Shireen getting settled in the Jade Orchid Prefecture and previously had been involved with the Inquisitor, had just kind of quietly vanished in a way that no one noticed. Upon following them, Flowing River was discovered speaking to two lion dogs, creatures from heaven, usually involved in enforcement of celestial law. And upon realizing that, the gig was up, pretty much immediately revealed that he had been a deep cover sidereal, a chosen of Serenity, the one that the crew was looking for and suspected was around, and had more or less been thrown into the position to keep tabs on the Executor, but in such deep cover that he was given no support, and any sort of movement that would have exposed him to the Executor would likely have gotten him killed. So he has spent a very long time looking for an opening and quietly tabulating evidence, and then the Hearth showed up, and everything got a lot weirder and a lot faster. So, with the Hearth's assistance and general discussion, some further context was acquired on the situation in terms of Heaven's politics, and then the Hearth got an idea. Milan, thinking about what Milan has done, faced with prior bureaucratic snares and other issues, thought, well, why don't I just escalate this to the highest office I can find? Wait a minute, we know that there's a Solar with us. Why don't we use that and try to get the attention of the biggest office that there is? And after a very carefully constructed prayer from Absolute Repose, and more or less the entire Hearth chipping in to do absolutely everything they can to boost the signal that Sybil was sending out while the prayer was being thrown out, actually managed to get the attention. Yes, they added the lamp and actually got the attention of the unconquered sun briefly cast their way to listen to their prayer, and the submission of, hey, one of the sidereals is up to some serious bullshit. And the message was pretty obviously received in the sense that even the sheer casual gaze to the side down to creation from the unconquered sun was enough to knock everyone down onto the ground, unable to move, and psychically pressure them to an immense extent, including Sybil and Guan. The only one unaffected, funnily enough, was Moat, who just was like, big lamp, good lamp. But upon reception of the message, Repose was actually buoyed up by the warmth of the sunlight, and got to see that over the horizon, Saturn was rising into a conjunction, and glittered a particularly bright color in the sense of, oh boy, message received, and it's probably about to get very bad for the Executor here in, well, pretty much immediately, as the attempt the Executor had been making to break the sacred peace on the meeting was immediately abandoned, and the best guess as to what is going on is that he is trying to go to ground as hard as possible, as he is now very very in a game of Demon the Descent or on Bird Note. He's in deep shit. So it is unlikely that he will be causing overt problems for a considerable while, as he will be mostly spending all of his efforts on not getting murdered. After that, the crew went back to the finishing of the deliberations and the religious discussions, and Jimbus arrived right on time to the pillar, and there was a bloom of plant life for the first time in a very long time in the impact crater around the pillars, and the construction of the plant life was such that it was taken as an extremely auspicious omen, blessing the union of the alliance and generally everything that just happened. Which leaves the hearth pretty much having nailed it completely with the alliance gathering. There's just kind of a simple denouement between all the parties as they begin to assemble to go back their own ways, as they have taken their new connections, they've forged their new bonds, they have now, with the help of Steel Tearing Bureaucrat and the rest of them, beginnings of legal guidances and the structure of the actual alliance itself. And Sheikhan has been enshrined as the god of the pillar, the overseeing god of the pillar, and more accurately, the god of deterrence through the threat of violence. There
The
is an
god of
actual
the
god.
view from the pillar.
Yes. And yeah, the hearth has basically left to watch as the celebration winds down, as all the tents are taken down, as all the animals are being packed, everyone is beginning to say their goodbyes and going their separate ways, and things seem to have gone quite well.
There's a comment from Obsidian of just, that went much smoother than I was expecting.
Is that what a sidereal is supposed to do? Make things better?
Would you be asking Flowing River that, or?
I mean, if Flowing River's in the conversation as nearby Obsidian says that, yeah, I would.
Flowing River just very, like, this would probably be off to the side so he could answer without it being obvious. Just a very casual shrug of just like, ideally our job is to make things that run smoothly. And in my opinion, yes, it is to make things better. Although I am biased in that I am from the Office of Harmony and Serenity, where we bring an end to conflicts and we bring things into understandings and accords. Unfortunately, I'm only one of 5 offices, so he just kind of shrugs at that.
Do you all work much like our hearth does in a group of 5 or 6 or whatever? Let me rephrase. You know what? That was too open-ended question. Were you supposed to, but that's just not how it works because of bureaucracy.
He pauses for a second to think about the response. If there's 5 sidereals in the same place at the same time, then something has gone considerably wrong or interesting. We
Kind of
tend
looks over to where don't is in that general direction and then looks back. Yeah, uh-huh.
He sighs. Yeah, that's been on the radar. That was technically the executor's job to be watching, and everyone, I wouldn't say trusted him to do that, but didn't have much of a choice either way. But on the ground, I can tell you from my observations that the containment appears to be holding on it, for the time being. So... Flowing River just kind of shakes the head looking at the pillar.
What it's worth. Thank you.
Oh, it's nothing. It's, if anything, I should be thanking you for, first of all, me being alive.
No,
Second
it's definitely something. The work you put in, whether it was above board or below, helped make this happen. Thank you.
I do what I can.
Oh, he's like Yang. He doesn't like to be complimented. We have an in.
But he just kind of looks up the pillar skyward, thinking to himself, how the hell am I going to explain this on the paperwork?
Do you have the paperwork on you?
No, it wouldn't fit in a building the size of this crater.
Because I could say it went up in flames and looks over at Obsidian if someone I don't know accidentally got a hold of it.
Oh no, it's not that easy up there. Believe me. You can have a demon eat it, and they would just give you a second stack of the papers and tell you to do it again.
Right, demons. Damn it.
He just kind of raises an eyebrow at that.
I'm thinking of, he's just kind of thinking like, I got more work to do. We got to deal with the war. Excuse me. And then Angler just kind of gets the thought in his head before he forgets and is going to go have that actual conversation with Shay Khan that was going to have, that I mentioned we were going to do 4 sessions. Was it 4 sessions ago?
Yeah,
It's
a
been
while
few
ago.
sessions
Yeah.
ago, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Shay Khan is visibly kind of much more formal in the presence of, oh, that's a sidereal. Oh, I need to, like, actually be presentable. But at the same time, not the same sort of body language or tone that was around the Executor, where it was a very much servitor slash fear relationship. This one is just like, oh, wow, that is number one, that is a sidereal, which is a rare and, auspicious and or dangerous thing. And number two, they appear to be doing their job earnestly and without an ulterior motive, and that's like seeing a unicorn. So Shay Khan has just kind of been milling around, keeping an eye on Flowing River, like, just, if nothing else, appreciating what is happening for the sake of, wow, this doesn't happen much.
Shay Khan.
How may I help you, Angler?
You had hold on, is there anyone nearby?
If you don't want there to be, then there wouldn't be.
No one nearby. Like,
yeah.
waiting for a moment with Shay Khan as they're, like, keeping an eye on Flowing River is away from people.
Yeah, so it would be just like, there would very much be just a casual kind of scoot to the side while everybody else is having a crowd moment.
Okay. And this is something that if any of the Hearth members want to be around for, that's perfectly fine. Just more that no one else would be a good idea.
Right.
You had mentioned earlier when we last talked with you some of the information about the War Striders.
Yes.
A couple questions about them.
I will do my best to answer them.
How does one pilot these things?
That is a open-ended question. It depends on the design of the War Strider in particular, the predilections of its creator, the era that it was created in, the materials at hand.
Okay, what about these 2 War Striders then?
If I had to hazard a guess from the fact that they were found in a Luxian redoubt, circa, does the mental calculations, several centuries ago, active use, potentially in the late Shogunate period or older. Rarer war striders of advanced age are very rarely brought into the front lines of any given conflict due to their scarcity and their immense tactical value and irreplaceability. But if this was a late Shogunate era war strider, they would likely be made of jade, or some other easily workable material that resonates with the dragon-blooded, as they were the ruling power of creation at the time. There's another pause for a moment in thinking. There is the outside chance that they are made of other magical materials and they were repurposed by the Shogunate after capturing them from the enemies of creation. But it is slightly less so. However, in the late Shogunate period, there would be the military design of a simplistic... There's a pause as it catches the term. By standards of the First Age, a simplistic user interface if it had been created later or retrofitted afterwards, where the pilot of a War Strider is... Shay Khan kind of steeples its fingers for a moment. Then kind of looks over and actually sees several merchants layering on cargo onto a Yedim and points. You see how those crates are not suspended upon the Yedim, but are suspended alongside it. They are in the air, but resting against the Yedem as a brace.
Yes.
Consider if the crate was within the Yedem, if the straps and the holsters and the anchor points were all inside of the creature, and they articulated to your joints. The War Strider principle is that the War Strider, barring a unique form of construction or a unique body plan of the pilot, should be as close to moving one's own body as possible in order to make it a natural movement. Therefore, most War Striders are equipped with an interface that mimics the movements of the pilot within a containment chamber in empty space. For lack of a better word, it is an extension of oneself like a shell. You raise your arm, the War Strider raises its arm. You clench your fist, the War Strider clenches its fist. You mimic a leap, it leaps. It is a disorienting thing from reports of mortals that have had to use it to adjust to such a interface when there isn't actually solid ground beneath one's feet or any other feedback from hitting an object with a fist. But there were many iterations of interfaces with War Striders, and this was decided as the most replicable en masse while also being accessible. It trails off, and it actually has the mask flick a bit as it shifts alloys through a couple of jades. More complicated interfaces in the first age that were abandoned for one reason or another.
This shell or containment thing, is it airtight?
It actually pauses and thinks about that. That would depend on the foresight of the engineer that created the War Strider to consider the threat of an airborne attack.
Because if they get inside and it's airtight, then how would they breathe, the pilots?
Well, that depends on if the pilot needs to breathe, first of all. Second of all, there are the possibilities of circulating air essence within it that will have a replenishing ability to breathe without depleting. And third, as mentioned, many of the War Striders would likely have an air gap that would allow air inside, unless they were designed with the consideration of an enemy that could weaponize gases, fluids, more malleable shapes.
Since
put it-
one of the striders, hold on, just since one of the striders is a four-legged and one is a two-legged, is either one of them more likely to have that's whatever you call it, piloting area airtight?
It thinks for a moment. Four-legged War Striders tend to be created for very specific purposes, either as a equivalent to a cavalry unit or to model after the body plan of an unorthodox pilot that is of sufficient prestige to custom its own War Strider, or for other more esoteric reasons that may have to do with geomantic or otherwise internal alchemy body plans. It catches itself and shakes its head. A four-legged War Strider likely is designed with a much more honed and particular purpose than a generic bipedal War Strider, so it would not surprise me if that one had specific measures against a foe that it was designed to face, or a threat or an environment that it was designed to operate within.
Thank you very much.
Nods. It thinks for, is there any other questions that I could answer about them?
This shell, just again, because I'm trying to figure it out, the interior bit, how is it, would it also be made of jade, so very difficult to break?
It nods. It would actually be one of the most reinforced sections of the entire War Strider, as, after all, the greatest vulnerability of a mechanism made entirely of magical materials is the considerably
Squishier bits
more...
inside?
It pauses when you say that. It's like, not the term that I would have used, but certainly engineering... certainly accurate enough in terms of engineering. The operator tends to be the weak point of a War Strider. except for the cases where the operator is the most dangerous part.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. You give me a lot to consider if we ever have to face those.
Of course, if you need any other advice on sabotaging or otherwise undermining them, or perhaps reinforcing and repairing them if you happen to gain your own access to them, I will be happy to oblige. It has been a very long time since I have been able to work directly upon a War Strider.
The two that were in the basement, catacombs, whatever, beneath the Citadel, you did not have a chance to look at them while you were there, correct?
They were already gone by the time I arrived, yes.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Nods.
And then that's it. And if that's the whole thing, Angler's going to walk away, but he's going to pause and then walk over to Obsidian and say, I have an idea.
Is it a good one?
For everyone else, yes. For me, incredibly not. But I think...
You're starting off with a hard sell, my dude.
I know. I think I've got an idea for how to take care of one of those War Striders if we get in combat. And I'm going to need your help for it. Or... Wait, no. Hold on. Yang doesn't have the ballista ability anymore, correct?
I think there's an equivalent in Essence, or at least, if not, I'm going to say that Yang still has it, because that's too iconic.
Either one of the two of you will be able to help out with that, but I need one of you to be able to launch me as hard as you possibly can at the walking strider.
Well, can do.
Probably lay down without you asking.
Fair. I think I can get inside. It's just gonna really hurt.
Hey, Angler, roll me finesse awareness.
Hey, you know who's gonna use his awareness charm right now? It's gonna be me.
Yep.
Because he's on hyper awareness for right now. 8.
So normally, this would be a situation where you would never have seen it coming. It is explicitly because of you being aware enough to use your charms that you can feel Cascade kind of leaning over behind your back and notice that she's there before she opens her mouth to say, exactly what do you plan on doing to yourself?
Well, I can do this. And Angler kind of vibrates a little bit and lets his hands and forearms and such turn into water and then reform. I can get in. If it's not airtight, I can get in.
And then what?
And then the squishy bits are probably not going to take it so well if I'm there crushing them.
Angler, you realize the squishy bits in there might be one of the things that...
Yeah, man, fuck it. Hijack a war machine. Do it.
Yeah, but if I'm in there, and if I'm inside the thing, whoever's piloting it has to pay attention to me rather than whatever's on the outside.
That's fair.
I just need to delay it long enough for you to either A, disable it, or B, for them to try to kick me out and I pull them with me.
Okay. The follow-up is, what if they don't try and kick you out and they instead kick out your heart?
It's really hard for people to do that.
I've
I'm
heard
not as
enough of
durable
what
as you, but I'm pretty darn good.
Cascade just says, I've heard enough of what you've talked about the abyssal that you've been chasing. And if that's the thing inside one of these things, number one, I don't think it breathes, and number two, you told me about that hand. What if he just boils you to death?
I have a couple ideas for that.
Oh, really?
Do you?
Tell. Do tell.
He has to hit me for it to work.
If you're
Remember-
water surrounding him, then it would be fairly easy to hit you, because...
Not necessarily. I'll reform almost immediately. I just need to be able to get inside the... What's the shell? Whatever this thing is called.
Are you sure there's enough room for the two of you in there?
I'm very bendable.
He is.
Takes all of Angler's entire essence to not, like, give an eyebrow raise to that.
She is completely stone-faced.
Also, if he uses the beam inside the machine, wouldn't that break it?
I mean, probably, but also you.
Yeah, also, he would kill one of the people that's been menacing him for...
I don't think it would kill me.
Stares daggers into your eyes.
I'm willing to take the risk.
It'd be funny if you hijack a war machine. I won't lie.
That's the idea. Also,
Okay, the point I'm trying to get at here is it's going to take a lot of convincing to convince Obsidian to throw you into a situation that he cannot bail you out of.
Okay, how about this? You throw me at the one that doesn't have the giant, horrible abyssal in it.
How do we know?
I'm pretty sure he'll find a way of announcing himself. But this is something that can delay the machine from... I mean, these War Striders are built to destroy armies. If I can delay it even for a few moments so that you all can disable it, that's worth the risk.
Alright.
Also,
I will
if
agree.
I can get in, I can just get out.
Again. Just...
If Yang was in earshot, he would be saying this seems a little reckless.
It is reckless, but
Yeah,
it's also
I would say
a way
Yang
to get
gets
in.
to be an earshot for this one.
Way to get in. Unless we have better ideas to be able to take these things down, that's a way to at least stall them while the rest of you work on disabling or even destroying it.
We still don't know how to do that.
Points over to Shea Khan. You can ask Shea Khan for good ways on that. I just was trying to find a way in.
Obsidian holds up a hand and says, I will agree to this on 2 conditions. 1, I am only throwing you at whatever one that we are sure does not have Tyrant in it. And 2, you need to have a plan better than I'll wing it once I'm in there.
At least
And
do
then-
a kung fu montage.
Oh, I mean, the plan is I wrestle then.
I mean, a good plan.
Think about it this way. If I'm
Cascade
twisting
can't
its
help but
arms-
start giggling at that.
Yeah,
That-
if I'm
that-
twisting their arms and legs even slightly, remember, as Philip was Shea Khan
Grabs you.
I will
but-
use my water-based ability to immediately pull out of being in a grapple.
And what if it can do that?
I am a water aspect. Sorry, wrong game. Water aspect. We're very, very good at getting out of tight situations.
Look, it just sounds like he wants to go wrestle someone in a back. Let him do it. You're not gonna talk him out of this one.
I know. I'm just saying I want him to be more prepared. Look you in the eyes again. We have fought 3 hell elementals. There's still one out there.
All right, no. If we're gonna meander about this, we're doing kung fu. Hey, Shea Khan, can you help me reconstruct a replica of a Warmech cockpit
Shea Khan stares.
out of wood?
In what time frame would you like that done?
Now. Look, I got the wood right here. Not like a person.
Shea Khan actually stops and thinks, "Wood? Do you happen to have metals?"
The idea that I'm trying to communicate here is
Yeah.
instead of like one of those martial arts things that spin around and hit you on the head, that train how to block, just gonna make a replica Warmech that you can parkour through.
Build
Yeah,
a
yeah.
practice mock-up of a War Strider saddle.
You know,
Yeah,
martial
Shea
arts.
Khan
it's-
shakes the mask at a mention of wood. No, it needs to be metal. It needs to have the proper material qualities, even if we cannot mimic the magical materials.
Yeah, I think we can do metal.
It's time to create our 1-to-1 replica of the bog.
So I need to go buy some pipes.
Shea Khan looks over to the nail. I'm briefly compelled to ask permission for using it until I remember my new position.
No, not the nail.
But what if we build it out of the nail?
I mean, it's kung fu
It is
practice.
thousands of metric tons of metal. It like to create the shell, it would be a shaving in comparison to the thing's size.
All right, if you feel like kung fu training is worth that, then
Out of
for you.
character. I mean, nobody's using it, right?
Also, Shay Khan
Also,
just brought
we're-
up, you made me the god of that thing. I decide what that thing does, and I'm
We are
deciding I'm using it.
looking for reasons to gradually shave down and clear out the giant accumulation of rust. And deoxidizing rust back into usable iron is like big picture fundamentally what you're doing. When you smelt iron ore into metal.
And
Sorry.
this is a god, so just give me a second.
Sorry, Night Hand from the chat of the gang accidentally makes a war strider.
Like a
And
really
at this
shitty
point,
fuck.
and Shay Khan would actually be like, wait, this would be like probably when most of the actual attendants are gone.
Oh yeah.
I would just
This is going to be the tourist location 1-to-1 Gundam, but it's a war strider. It's not actually. It can't actually do anything. It's just there.
Shay Khan briefly considers thinking about it. I cannot match the perfect design of whatever this War Strider is, as I only know its proportions based upon the footprints it left within the amethyst. However, going off of generally standardized designs from the Shogunate, steeples its fingers before reaching out with a claw and carving through the air in a kind of beckoning motion, and the rust just rises in a tidal wave from the base of the nail and sheds off the oxidization, like, whatever, like, it reverts itself back into usable iron, smashes itself into metal, and as Shay Khan is just very casually just kind of manipulating remotely with one hand, tweaking a finger here, swooping a hand over there. It just is like malleable as clay in the air before it slams down to the ground as a roughly circular, kind of tall oval egg shape with a large, like, breastplate frame around it.
Immediately move over and try to flow inside it then.
All right, give me a finesse athletics check. On difficulty 7.
Yeah,
7.
just kind of like hurling glances at it, going, "Can you really box in there? That looks small."
So, Angler, for all the bravado, realizes that, airtight does also mean, water permeable. It doesn't mean water has a great time getting in. It doesn't
Oh,
mean
no.
you have a lot of room.
Angler was fully aware this could really backfire and also hurt a lot.
So, basically, you turn into liquid form and smack up against the breastplate and realize, okay, a lot of this is, like, first thing to remember, most War Striders are going to be magically worked. Most metalworking principles of welds and joins and things like that don't really always apply. They can just kind of be bullshit. So you have to search pretty dedicatedly for, okay, where is the deliberate airport that was put in here? Oh, there it is. Oh, there's not much room in here. I'm gonna have to, like, super pressurize myself to get in here at any sort of reasonable rate.
To go briefly glancing at the War Strider rules, such as they existed in 3rd edition, to key off of a baseline here, breaching frame is a difficulty 9 gambit that opens up the ability to directly attack the pilot.
Yes.
It is possible. It is,
you are doing this instead of attacking the mech full
it is
stop.
a big power move to do that.
Like, you are exchanging deal severe damage to the War Strider for peel open the front of it and punch the guy inside of it.
Yeah, but
And
I'm
for
not trying to peel it open. I'm trying to just go through it via
Yeah,
vents
it's
and
not
cracks.
really-
Yeah, it's
That's
breach.
fine.
It is not like reveal. It is get in there or open it. But like, and
like co-GMing, kind of negotiating here. The fact that it's only getting one person in instead of creating an opportunity anyone can key off of probably lowers the difficulty like 1.
Yeah.
But it is still a big ask to bypass the suit completely.
I feel like this is a really big distract gambit on
And
top
attack
of
the
that,
core.
more than, like, a
Yeah,
glitch.
yeah. And the very brief description in essence, because I actually, it is not a spoiler to say, you will be facing one or both of the Worst Riders, depending on how this goes. I have plans up my sleeve for it. The rules as they exist in essence for now, there will be published rules for how to use them full detail, but right now they basically say break it up into a mid-combat, like, venture or extended thing you do. It is not
that venture is smart, actually.
Yeah, it is not you roll dice to slap the robot. It is, okay, you need to specifically target parts of the robot to take it down. Because you are not actually doing anything to it unless you know what you're doing.
You have to shoot the radio shield so that the cockpit has to be opened.
For some further comparisons for the 3rd edition rules, block vision is a difficulty 3, disable arm is a 5, and disable leg is a 6.
Yeah, Essence as it stands basically is like you set up a, take out leg joint and then disable radio shield and then pry open breastplate or like destroy arm servo or things like that. You would have an assemblage of optional venture points you can do to fight back against the robot as it is kicking your ass.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
The idea that I'm going for with Angler is because he is the best at being able to squeeze into situations like this. If he gets in on even on the point where he doesn't make it fully inside of the cockpit,
you would absolutely, like, in the venture rule system, you would absolutely introduce a gigantic complication to the War Strider's moves that has to be overcome so it can do actions if you squeezed yourself into the cockpit.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, is that Angler at least gets in there to the point where the pilot goes, oh, he's doing something stupid, I gotta pay attention to him before I crush everyone else. So at least he gives a little bit of time for other people to do the disabling of the arms and legs and chest or whatever.
Which, so it's something that, again, Obsidian is purposely not articulating correctly, but I'm going to out of character.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't think you have a bad idea. He wants you to be prepared so that you don't get incinerated when you go in there.
So you don't walk in and
because in his head, because he is putting 2 and 2 together at this point, okay, wood can't be a hell element, and we have done the other 3. So water going in there is going to be met with whatever hellfire is, and he doesn't want you to be boiled.
If the elemental is the one driving the War Strider.
That's what is in his head right now, is that the elemental, Ruby has one ally at this point, and it's whatever hell elemental he has.
Yes.
Although, to remind, as I go ahead and put out my own contribution to this discussion here, Repose, meanwhile, has been diving back into recollection of the couple of times that we have actually directly encountered and witnessed the movements of Ruby, and has diagrammed out list of his known fighting moves.
Yep.
To spend a while thinking about boxing in order to try and examine how capable is he as an individual fighter, setting aside the presence of the beam.
So, yeah, this is just Repose would be probably just seated on the ground, meditated and thinking about this while observing.
The question, sitting aside this back and forth of what to do about Ruby and the possibility of the robot is, of course, would he even want a mount? Would he want a suit? Because he already has armor he wears, and he has a big-ass weapon he wields that probably involves a similar commitment of energy to using a War Strider anyway.
Yeah, so for 5 successes, I will give you some basics, and then I will give you a couple of the answers on that. Basics from what you have personally seen him do and the fight that you've had with him, you understand that as a combatant, he is very unrefined brute force. He is not particularly well trained as a martial arts boxer style person because his first line of attack is social. He would prefer to never actually have it come to violence and have you submit before he even needs to raise a hand. If it comes to that, his first thing is beam, and then his second option would be a very just brute force walk up to you, take a hit on the chin, and then start beating you to death with just a double-handed haymaker kind of thing. He's very simple, he's very predictable, but the problem is that he's a Solaroid, and that's enough in a lot of in a lot of situations. All I have to do is hit you. Now, like, as just brought up, you did 1v1 him for a little while. You were able, by virtue of skill and understanding, creatures of darkness, having your own mental defenses, Golden Janissary style, stuff like that. He's not a particularly dangerous threat when you take out his two biggest assets. When the gauntlet is not able to be used for whatever reason, whether it's disabled or too dangerous to use, and when his social, mental, spooky presence is not working, he's just a guy who is, like...
He's just a really strong guy.
He's just a really strong guy who has roughly the combat experience of someone who's gotten in a lot of bar fights. He's not someone you would actually call a martial artist or a soldier or any sort of professional fighter. That is just a guy who is beating the shit out of you. That's not someone using a style. That's not someone who has a lot of experience in needing to actually resort to physical violence. So he just kind of goes. And the ace in the hole is, if he loses his focus, he does get possessed by the Neverborn, and that is a X factor, where he just kind of goes hog wild and just starts running all over people.
Bog hoggle.
So there are two possible answers to whether or not Tyrant would use a War Strider. If he is, it is because he is aware that he is in a situation where he would need to be in physical combat, and he is aware now that if it comes down to an actual punch-out fight, he's probably going to lose. It will be the sort of fight where he is confident he would take one or two of you with him, but he would lose it because he's not good at it. So if he wanted to, okay, if I have to fight you, like, with my hands and actually physically violence you to death, yeah, a War Strider would be probably a more versatile option than the laser beam. The other option would be to have a subordinate in the War Strider and then have him behind the thing, using the beam, using his social, using other assets that he has, while there's a giant goddamn robot in the way, being a much louder and more immediate threat, allowing him to work his own work.
Because, yeah, the other line of thought to have ready to bring up as well is he sure did already mention in front of us the idea of taking even, like, the leftover essence from the ones we have already defeated and throwing them into magic objects in order to get them recharged.
Yeah, like, it is a known factor for repose.
What are the main ways to get a magical machine running other than just being an Exalt and applying your own juice to it? Is to bind a spirit and have it inhabit the thing that you want animated.
Additionally, something Repose would be immediately aware of, and probably has been aware of this entire time, unless you do something to have magic that will permanently obliterate a spiritual entity, it's not gone. Like, none of the elementals that you have destroyed are gone. They are discorporated.
Yeah,
they are
set up to permanently kill them. They are just...
I'm here, by the way.
Oh, hello.
Welcome
aboard. But yeah, so, like, it is on the table to at least propose that the three fiends that you have fought probably are depowered and still nursing their wounds, depending on how recent it was. But all you really did was punch them back into the dragon lines or into the underworld, and they are somewhere, in some capacity, able to do stuff. So, if he got backed into a corner, he still actually has all four. Even if three of them may be a little crappier. and he could plug them into the giant war batteries. He could just have them run in front of you as a distraction while somebody else is in the War Strider, or he's in the War Strider. He has more options than he really is insinuating that he has.
In particular as well for the shadow dragons, that the undead element of it means that if emotionally they're still feeling down after their loss and haven't found motivation, that kind of directly translates into a loss of applicable power to situations. Ghosts are very driven by their moods, passions, and fixations.
If a ghost is going, oh man, fuck, I can't believe I'm beaten, I have nothing to do, I can't fight them, they're going to be weaker. If their response is instead, I am going to tear them apart, and I am going to eat them, and I'm going to floss with their tendons, then they actually get stronger.
So while the discussion of launching Angler into the grills so that he can liquefy and slurp on in there and do what he does are happening, Repose has just been composing a lot of fight diagrams and getting them set up on slates in the background.
The Grey Robes are assisting, touching
just
up the drawings.
Waiting patiently for anyone else to happen to notice that he is getting this information together.
Angler's actually going to ask, while he's trying to, slurp in and out, if Shea Khan would, without Angler knowing or being able to see it, subtly change the ingress points of the giant model so that he can find faster and faster ways of being able to get inside.
Yeah, Shea Khan could very easily just manipulate the air fence to move them around or change their density. This is, Shea Khan would tell you this is likely not something a War Strider would be equipped to do, but this is a training environment.
Exactly. It's more a matter of being able to find, without knowing where the entrances are, being able to find it faster because, okay, this is similar to something I've seen before.
Yeah. And once you are inside and able to recorporate and generally are inside the egg, you have, I'd say, like a not claustrophobic, but still fairly small closet's worth of space to actually fight somebody in it. Like, it would be the situation where a single person could get their arms stretched all the way out to touch the walls. Mm-hmm. If there's two people inside, now you are bumping into each other or one of the surfaces, and there is no getting around that.
While Angler's in there, since he is all in a tight little spot by himself, he's going to use a foe restraining whirlpool and just measure how long it takes to fill the cockpit up with water.
I don't have an answer for that one offhand, so you would know that, but I don't. Yeah, okay.
It's more a matter of, well, okay, if they need to breathe or anything else, or if there's some dumb fire thing in here with me,
you are in the same range band. You are at close when you are in there.
Yeah, it's more a matter of how quickly could he disable the pilot, or at least make it untenable for the pilot to do things.
I think foe restraining whirlpool, once you're at close range, already has its max effect turn on. So it would be basically the matter of seconds. It's entirely contained, and it is a hell whirlpool.
Now, if I get launched as the hell whirlpool into it, okay. I'm just trying to imagine a ballista shot shooting someone who's just this giant ball of water spraying everywhere, just at the mech, and then just suddenly the mech just starts spraying water out everywhere as it slowly fills up for the inside.
And it just kind of like quaps around as the pilot is flailing.
Yep. Because even if the pilot doesn't necessarily need to breathe, if you're in a small enclosed space and suddenly it's full of water, that's going to take a second for you to go, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yep.
What did they do? Oh, he's here.
Yep. That is a bit of a plan.
Also, Repose would immediately... Well, not Repose. Angler would immediately realize upon creating the whirlpool, hey, if the War Strider relies on mimicking the movements of the pilot, and the pilot can't move easily through water, like they don't have a way of supernaturally just going and ignoring the density of water, suddenly the War Strider is going to be in slow motion, because they are having to fight through water to move their limbs, so the War Strider is going to be very slow.
Okay. It's one of the many, many reasons Engler wants to get in there. The other ones involve him having a lot more anima active, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Water anima at Iconic is terrifying, and other news.
Yeah, and as Engler flows out, he would look over to Obsidian and say, I can get there myself if I need to. It's more a matter of how quickly I can do it.
Cascade is just kind of watching the whole experiment off to the side, and is actually kind of standing over with Repose as she's watching, and has gone from frustrated looking with the idea to like, I've actually seen dumber.
Yeah, you're starting to get
Funny.
an idea from this.
Cascade would actually lean over to the drawings and start looking at them, and starts tapping, trying to identify them to herself, if nothing else. Okay, so that one taps the one that is obviously just the bloated body and the wave of blood. So that one definitely was the bronze axe. Angler told me enough about that one. This one taps the kind of the corpse body with the dirt and the dust. I guess that would be the first one, from what I remember. And then this one right here. Oh, and she looks at the outline. Right, that's the one that you threw a door at, right? She says, turning to Obsidian.
Yeah. You should try throwing a door at it.
Sufficiently large door would count as a weapon. The Shea Khan does comment.
How big of a door can we make?
I believe the most efficient answer would be actually what is the largest door that you could procure on the site of the battlefield and lift. Creating your own door and transporting it to be a specific anti-war strider weapon, while technically theoretically possible, seems to be there is a considerably long pause as Shea Khan is obviously looking for a diplomatic way of saying something. A rather unique expenditure of resources.
I mean, I could lift some pretty big things.
Hmm.
I'm waiting for anybody else to chime in on this.
No, I'm just watching you make a noose. It's fun.
I mean, Obsidian does have the charm of just, yeah, I'll lift that.
Yeah,
Also, you're war boss. You're the guy who comes up with the big tactics.
Yep, you are. If you say, why don't we throw a door at it, you are the one who's...
Door at it. What? Wait.
You are usually the one
boss.
that people listen to. They have to
Why don't we
stop
throw
and
a door at
consider...
it?
Is there a secret tech as to why throwing a door at it would be a good idea?
Unfortunately, Obsidian doesn't have too much tech for how to fight a war strider because that's not a very common thing.
That's not a situation you generally want to be in as a merchant marine, yeah.
If you're going to be throwing things at it, why don't you ask Milan for ideas for what shapes are best, since Milan's the best with thrown weapons of all of us.
Milan's sleeping.
Yeah. Milan, up until now, has been kind of bonked out after, getting stared at by the sun.
You know Milan has bad constitution. The sun looked at him and he passed out.
The what? Oh, what? The Cascade says, wait, what?
Why do you talk?
Cascade
What
actually
point?
grabs Angler by the throat and drags him into direct eye contact. Tell me that you don't mean the sun. And looked at.
I left the meeting for 15 minutes and I came back looking like this. What do you think happened?
Obsidian has a filter.
3, 4. Cascade actually lifts Angler up over her head by the throat, grabs by the knees, and just barrel tosses into Obsidian's chest.
You know what? I could find a lot of ways of getting out of this because, man, she can't touch me if he doesn't want to be, but he's just going to let it happen.
Obsidian stands there and lets this happen.
Yeah, unless Obsidian like catches him, it would just be a like a very heavy thunk and a fall to the ground.
You all right?
Yeah, no, I just saw Sunpie in chat and I fell over a bit.
Yeah.
Bradway, would you be available for discussion in this matter?
Bradway might be getting foodstuffs or something.
Bradway sat on his mute button again. Has been talking for the last 5 minutes.
Oh no!
Did you hear about that time when
I have been here since the talk of, does Yang still have the crossbow?
Ha!
Oh no!
Milan woke up and came over to join the conversation, but forgot to like take off the sleeping mask.
Has
Milan has just been mumbling ominously.
Milan has in fact climbed up to the top of the nail where Old Man is, and is just watching this conversation happen.
God.
We have fun here.
Anyway, that's in my brain the payback for coming up with this scheme.
As Angler lies on the ground, just, hanging out, he looks up and says, it wasn't my idea to stop the sun, to talk to the sun. It was only my idea that I take the brunt of the damage that would have been going to Milan.
She actually... What do you mean that...
Well, since she's probably pretty close, he's just going to reach out and, poke her knee and use sense riding technique like this.
Triangle breathing.
Uh-huh.
In. Out. In. Out.
I was like, come on, you shouldn't be surprised that Milan came up with an idea like this.
I'm surprised it worked, and that you're all not. She just gestures at one of the barren patches of ground next to her.
I mean, the way I see it is, if I can take even a second's worth of the sun staring at me and not burst into steam from that, completely into steam. I did steam off a little bit. I think I'm 5 pounds lighter. I think I'll be okay.
What did I marry?
An idiot.
Yeah.
No, that's not even. That's not an accurate descriptor anymore. We need better words. We need stronger words.
Dumbass?
No, broader, powerful.
Look,
A fool. I married the fool.
Yeah, a fool. But a fool's not going to let his little brother get hurt.
And I'm very proud of you for that. But if you had let your daughters grow up without a father because you decided it was a good idea to wave hello to the sun, I would personally get Repose to find your ghost, bind it up here, and I would throw bags of salt at it every morning.
I'd just be salt water then. That's not going to do anything.
That's romantic.
Shut up. She actually says that to Yang instead of Angler.
Think of it this way. It worked out. Again.
I'm increasingly convinced that we are in some sort of horrific reality in which there is a playwright in heaven that is creating a play that is self-aware, and it is all a joke on me.
I mean, to be fair...
Whoa, that'd be a pretty good story.
The entire hearth turns to look at the camera.
When I was saying it halfway through, I didn't realize what I was saying, but...
You gotta commit. It's fine.
It's... That's it. No,
Although,
it is.
I will admit,
it's...
all this trying to get inside and working with the thing, I think I got a couple ideas for some wrestling techniques that I need to work out on some people. So,
Cool, I'll have Granite break your legs, and then you can try to do them when you're in a disadvantaged position.
all
I
of which
only need my
are
arms.
pointless speculation if we do not first have a reason by which to entice the tyrant to engage us.
I mean,
Number
he'll
two,
invent one,
yes.
right?
No. He's 0 for 3 against us. Do you think he actually wants to move against us anymore?
There
If
at
I
all
w-
times remains the overarching threat that during the time between our encounters, it will finally finish occurring to him that he is already dead and can delay his actions indefinitely until more favorable conditions arise.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, he could totally do that.
He can just wait until we're dead.
What if it's not his call? Cascade says.
Go
Like he
on.
answers to somebody.
I mean, from what you've said, these people have bosses, don't they?
Yeah, but he's specifically ignoring his boss.
And who told you that?
Good point.
I mean, he may be ignoring his boss, and he may be thinking he's ignoring his boss. He may really actually be doing so. But if he's really that enmeshed with whatever's going on down there, he might not be the only person involved with this. He might be just the one that we've seen.
It's a worrying possibility.
Actually, because it has been ages and I do not remember anymore.
Sure.
What information did we get from the Nephrak?
Basically that there was a fair amount actually. Tyrant has more or less blown off the Mask of Winters, and the Mask of Winters above board has accepted this as just kind of like, whatever, I don't care. There was the implication that one of the Worst Riders was going back to Mask of Winters as a bribe. Whether or not that was true or going to be followed through on was open-ended. There was also double dealing with the Weaver upon the Loom of Flesh, the Death Lord that Raposa's family has the ancestral rivalry with, and the recent events involving geomantic nexuses and things getting off of whack kind of fit his game plan of messing with geomancy and creating manses or locations of power or corrupting things that are already in existence. It is possible that the Weaver has his own thing that he's doing on the side that Tyrant is helping with as an exchange for helping Tyrant out, or there may be other things going on as well.
Okay. Well.
Since we have attained a vague general sense of where one of our remaining enemies is likely encamped, we should attempt to exchange that information for any more specific intel on which we could build a plan of battle.
The Grey Robes all nod.
It's time for scouting.
Oh, I'm good at that.
Observation.
I'm bad at that.
And with that, we can go back to the main map.
Oh, big map.
With featuring
It do be like
fjords.
that.
Do be like that.
So we know of Ominous Zone,
Mm-hmm.
which is between these three known Shadowlands, and may itself be preparing to become a Shadow's Land.
Mm-hmm. what you know is that there are dragon lines that are going out of their usual way to get drawn in towards that center of the triangulation, and that's probably nothing good.
Someone is landscaping.
Mm-hmm. So, if that is the item on the agenda, we can have
If only we knew someone who was an expert in geomancy and landscaping. Too bad we don't have an ally on their sheets who is good at that stuff.
That's a shame anyway. Oh, you were being facetious.
Yeah, let's rope Koi into this fucking with the dragon lines.
All right, so with that, it would not actually take all the way back to the Flying River provinces. You would be able to get her on the road back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say we could probably get to talk to her on the road back.
Yeah, or just let her know, or just catch up to her depending on how late this would be. But yeah, so we could either do it as a full dialogue scene or just have her as an assist when you go scout. Which would you prefer?
I was looking in terms of useful leverage we could take advantage of this dragon line confluence. Like, there's something we can do to mask ourselves, or perhaps mess with what he's doing with this redirection.
All right, I'm going to have her roll her excellency as she sits and considers that. If this is a deliberate pulling of fairly indiscriminate ley lines, like it is out towards like Jimbus area level of messing with ley lines to drag inward. So the first thing she would think of is that this is not a specific desire for an elemental balance or imbalance. This is just, I want essence. I want juice. I need power. So it is an indiscriminate dragging inwards of give me fuel for whatever is going on in there. Which would mean that any messing with any balances or any other ways that it is going in would probably not really be noticed. The only thing that would be noticed and probably provoke a reaction is cutting off the tap. Somebody, like, actually severing the lines or fixing whatever is drawing them in to have the power flow into this area.
Okay, so my follow-up question is, what kind of sugar can we inject into this gasoline flow?
That is an open question, as we don't know what the power is being used for. If you throw anything additional into the elemental flows, all you might be doing is just giving it more juice.
Okay, so
even like she even thinks about it as like if it is like something specifically for the underworld and you throw in, well, first of all, you could try throwing in like essence relating to the sun or, you know, holiness and sacredity. First of all, good luck doing that. That's not something Dragonbloods do, and Sybil does not seem to be a geomancer. Even second, if you do that, you might just kind of assist if this is like a mining project where you're just blowing holes in the underworld to get something. Great, you just gave him dynamite. You have no idea what he's doing, therefore you don't know what he doesn't want.
Okay, so we would need to get the information of what he doesn't want, and then we inject.
Yes, you need to know what he's doing so you know how to undermine it, because you have no idea what he's actually doing with all of this power.
Do we know where he's redirecting it all to?
The question mark in the bottom left of the hex of the square grid map.
Okay.
There is just an open question as to all you know is that the natural flow of power in this region has had a sinkhole put into it that is draining power away from the natural web and cycle of things. where it's going and what it's doing, shrug. Well, where it's going is probably the underworld, or some local area topside that is being used.
We could always just go there.
I think that was step 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Milan was looking for advantages to use before showing up.
Why don't we just redirect it away from there?
That would be number 1. You have to figure out how it's being directed there, and either interrupt that process or subvert it. And number 2, do that, which is its own massive undertaking. And 3, survive whatever retaliation happens when they realize you're doing that.
Now, trying to tamper with whatever landscaping that they're doing to forward their scheme is exactly the kind of thing that will provoke them into riding out to face us with powerful weapons that they are confident would be able to defeat us. So, yeah, why don't we do that?
Like, and this isn't even a thing of like, why don't we stop what they're doing to do the flood? No, why don't we just
Yeah, let's
change
do some sabotage.
Not even like we have to know what they're doing to stop their flow. No, we just make the flow go somewhere else.
All right, so the first step of that process is figure out how it's going there. Because you could try to set up a geomantic way of redirecting it, but depending on how powerful the draw in is, it may do nothing.
My thought was to throw something into the dragon lines to clog it up and stop that. Just kind of build up.
Let's not think about clogging up the dragon lines. Because that seems like a bad idea. Of like, somebody's redirecting all this water. Time to stop that, and then the pipes burst.
Yeah, and then, oh no, what'll happen? More swamp? It's fine.
What if more swamp, though?
Yeah, notably, it's not a very populated area.
We could make more swamp.
We do with maybe more swamp, maybe a bit of a mountain, forest. What if we get a glacier to pop up down here? If we get the air line to pop.
Well, we can probably do that by just having Jimbus go around a pre-designated path.
And we don't need to reach the point of successfully creating whatever new other flow that we want. We just need to reach the point of they notice we are tampering with their work. And we continue to tamper with their work until they come fight us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a provocation. We're going to lay a siege. It's time for work. Yep. We will dig many ditches.
Yeah, all right.
Yep. So I think what our first step should be is to get intel. So we might still need a scouting operation.
You need,
I need one.
Okay, so this is going to be a venture. It is going to be 3 steps: is getting there, getting the information, and then synthesizing the information. So the first step, I'm going to have somebody roll me finesse navigate with a difficulty of 6.
Why is everybody looking at me?
Because Milan has no sense of direction.
Yeah, you can roll this.
What kind of moves do you have to leverage into this?
Yeah, let me.
What's up?
I would like to offer up a sagacity roll using the Dragon Lines maps as a
Hey.
assistance.
One moment, I have. So, are we trying to find out how to get to somewhere?
We
yes, yes, specifically in a way that ideally doesn't get you busted, but you just
Alright.
want to figure out how to get there and to
Oh.
Yeah.
lay the place out.
So this is
Give-
a combination of stealth and navigation.
Yes.
Well,
The stealth is optional. The navigation is not.
give me a hot
basically-
second.
Basically, a complication could be that you get busted, unless you get a good roll.
Just gonna look up a charm.
While you're looking that up, hey Sana, how good is Yang at the whole stealth in a group of people thing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, you might want to go along on this venture because I'm looking at my stuff and going, I mean, Angler's good at being stealthy himself,
Okay.
but not a group.
Okay, somebody else can cover the stealth aspect of this as I'm using. I don't think there's even a moat going to this. I just know this. It just goes off. I'm gonna do navigate and finesse with as the crow flies.
Yep.
To read out the charm. The Exalt's impeccable sense of direction and distance never fails her. The Exalt knows the shortest mundane route between where she is and where she wants to be, even if the path is slightly unconventional. This
that's
may
what
be
my charm
going
it
over
rules.
rooftops, cutting through a tea house's kitchen, rather than navigating the city's busy streets.
Okay.
She may cut corners a number of times equal to her essence during a travel venture without suffering consequences.
Okay, so you can cut corners on all 3 steps, is what that will be doing. And Sana, you said something?
No, it's just have the same charm as that. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, great. That's 7S. Whoa! Oh! Oh!
All right.
Pretty bad.
So that was difficulty 6, and you got a 2. Give me 1 second to.
Just points.
Cutting corners becomes available after you have completed at least one normal obstacle.
Points. Points in the direction. Yeah, just keep going that way. You'll get there eventually.
Okay, so we wind up over here.
All right, 1 sec.
This was a bad idea.
We are on the shortest available route, which at this time of year is just covered with flammables, so we're leaving a giant trail of char down the road.
Right down the road.
Are we all on this trip, or is this like a small select group?
That would be up to you. Who do you want there to do the evaluations?
It's a good question.
Anyway.
I mean, that's implied at this point. Come on.
Who
We
knows the
have
most
two
about?
groups? No, this is definitely a one group thing.
I think all of the players are along for this.
Okay.
Okay. So, I'm
Who
going to
knows the most
say...
about what?
About ley lines and shit.
You had some pretty strong opinions about that.
What, old man?
Yeah.
How does old man feel about something fucking with the ley lines?
I mean, that's probably a bad thing. Think about it.
How's old man feel about fucking with the ley lines in order to fuck with somebody else?
See, now we're talking.
You
So
want
long
to
as-
you want to
so
help
long as we're the
throw
ones doing it.
help throw some sugar into this gasoline pipe?
Oh, you better believe it.
Yeah.
Good,
So if you weren't around for the initial discussion, we are attempting to tamper with whatever the fuck Ruby is doing with the ley lines.
Mhm.
We are scouting out and beginning plans to sabotage the mystery zone here.
Okay, so that was not a bot. So I'm going to say that you do make the travel. You know the shortest path. You go off the road. You go straight through the shrublands. And again, it is wood season. There are a lot of flammables, so you need to like literally cut a path through a considerable bit of it. Then you go through the river valley. You got to cross the river, go across the road, and then at this point, yeah, you're about here. You kind of graze past the Shadowland for a little bit. I will say the consequence for this roll not being fully successed is that you are noticed. And with that,
By whom? How could this go badly for us?
you're not directly how to put this. When you pass by the first Shadowland, you are close enough that you were able to look into it as the sun is going up, because you'd be actually traveling. No, this would be a multiple day travel unless you flew. And the way the crow flies is that it is working on mundane travel. So you would pass by the Shadowland roughly during a sunrise and sunset moment, and you are able to see that it is more active than usual, and it seems to have a lot of restless dead, and they very obviously take note of you passing by. They don't do anything, they don't leave the borders of the Shadowland, they don't start anything, but it is very obvious that they see you, and that some of them may come like saber rattling motions, or kind of hiss and growl in your direction.
Sorry, just the thought process of being seen by a bunch of skeletons and they just.
I mean, that is kind of what happens, is that that, okay, the underworld is absolutely 1,000% aware that we are within this boundary. Whether or not that will report back to whatever is in here, shrug, maybe.
Do we want to throw a roll to obscure our identity so that, because they know we're here?
Can I do a disguise roll? Can we disguise us as a traveling band of assholes?
Isn't that
That's our
already
cover
what you
story.
are?
Disguise?
I was gonna say that's what you are.
Well, a different traveling band of assholes, like poets or some shit. I don't know.
Disguise us as
A bunch of bards. Oh
we're out looking at
Hold
birds to get yeah.
I would like to. I'm actually very strongly willing to go along with this, and I would like to make a roll to see how convincingly Old Man can write up some quick poetry on the fly to be able to,
Recite poetry to skeletons.
Yes.
All right.
We are obviously not that terrestrial Earth that's been out meddling with everyone's plans. We're an acting company preparing the opera about that Earth.
It's the Yakuman opera.
Fuck, that's
You're preparing for the Yakuman opera.
Fuck, that would be something someone would do, and I hate
That's your stunt. That's your stunt. You get 2 stunt die for it for your finesse
the
stunt.
local presentation. Fresh in from the Isles.
So yeah, it's finesse stealth with 2 extra die and whatever charms you want.
Which one of us is rolling? I'm so fucking.
You first, and then Old Man.
All right, finesse, and then I guess I'm making the quality of the disguise, and then you are doing.
Yes.
I would like to argue instead for finesse craft for me, because I'm coming up with a poem on the fly.
Sure.
No. It's not the same role. I was going to make performance for you, but I'll also accept craft.
All right. I'm going to do finesse craft. It's the same thing. So I have a 14. Sure, man. It's immaculate. Fuck it, dude. Nothing matters. What hearth?
Okay, so that's 10 extra dice.
So the brilliant part of this is that Yang is not disguised as all. You're just dressed as Yakuman.
I'm just Yakuman.
You are just in your usual Yakuman outfit. Everyone else is in this most meticulously, carefully composed, kind of shitty, offbeat, kind of there representations, like very theatrical, baroque versions of their outfits as described secondhand through yes, that was me throwing my glasses on my desk for a moment. Thank you for hearing that. But basically, like, instead of Repose's usual very, modest monastic robes, Repose is now walking around with, like, shirtless and has a extra layer of fake tattoos on top of the real tattoos that are more ridiculous. And Obsidian is just in this fucking ridiculous gaudy set of armor and has a makeup made up to like a fake beard, and it has like just very much more strong and angry and just punchy looking, but also handsome. Like everyone is very much done up like the fucking. It's like the play scene at the end of Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it's all like, you see where they got it, but it's also really wrong.
So what my brain went to immediately was the false straw hats.
Yes.
In One Piece.
Yeah, the false straw hats, the Ember Ireland players, romance novel cover versions of people. Milan's mustache has hair extensions. It's down by the ankles now.
Milan's got a full beard going in addition to this.
Yeah, it's actually like a full set of beard, fake beard on the mustache that is going down to the ankles as well.
It's a full Guan Yu, is what you're looking at there.
Yes.
Got the note of facial hair is immaculate and did not know when to stop.
Mm-hmm. So everyone is just in it takes about an hour when the costumes are applied to just sit off to the side and just be able to walk without looking at each other and falling over laughing. But you are able to go and basically have yourself disguised as yourselves as interpreted by theater kids.
Old man is painted gray to be the Man of Steel.
Painted gray to be a mysterious, near dead old man.
He's more very obviously grody, but in the wrong way. Like, people heard that he was a gross, nasty old man that was weird looking, and kind of.
Oh, so he's some kind of skeleton wizard, right? He's a
so he's like he's a lich, so he's got open sores and his skin is all pallid, and no, it's actually quite horribly stretchy. Oh, so it's got really nasty drooping horrible jowls.
Like a rubber band of some sort.
Now I heard he was copper. I think that's his clothes. Do we have any copper clothes?
And the copper is they put a green verdigris on it. Rather than it actually just being self-maintained.
Moat is nowhere to be seen. Instead, Repose is set up like a ventriloquist puppet of a tiny lion. He's just operating this while himself never saying anything.
Okay, so that's
every time I go into a session going, I don't have any ideas this time for beyond a vague arc, and then I have to just trust my players, and every time it's the best thing. It's wonderful.
So that's 10 extra dice to Doc's performance roll.
Oh no, Doc's performance roll was not being assisted by the disguise. These are both individual attempts to salvage the consequence. So now Doc can roll finesse craft to sell the acting part of the role.
Well, so the acting part, not quite. It's the
poetry.
The poetry.
Yeah, how good is the poem, basically?
It's pretty fucking good.
It's quite good, actually. It is just for something that is off the cuff and casually just put together. It's something that you would expect to see in an actual poetry comp. Milan listens to it and has this brief thought of wow, you could publish that on the Isle. Actually get some notice out of that. That is something
that's real. Hey, wait a moment! This is about me. What the?
Ha!
Imperial City bestseller. Old man yells at cloud.
My favorite pastime.
Okay, so yeah, with those rolls, you have been noticed but not as yourselves. You have been noticed as a bunch of fucking morons are walking into a dangerous area and don't know what they're doing. So you are in a much safer position than the original consequence, but there is still a consequence. Just the palpable aura of no one would be so stupid as to disguise
There's
themselves
no
as the
way.
scale. No one would be that stupid. I know
So-
I know they're really stupid, but they're not that stupid.
Our daughter is just a snake.
Yes, she is.
Which we all know is the optimized horse.
Yes.
Remove bones, add meat, remove leg. God, I saw what you saw in the chat, and for a second I thought instead of the Great Winged Serpent, I thought you said the Great Serpent of Ronka. A horse with the proportions of the Great Serpent of Ronka is not leaving my head, I'm sorry.
Alright, gather yourself.
I'm going to roll 3 dice to scree.
Okay. So the second part of the venture is the investigatory part. This is going to be difficulty 7, and we'll have a roll of either finesse or fortitude plus awareness.
You're not gonna trick me into rolling finesse twice in one session.
I mean, I could do it if you'd like me to. Does anyone else have a different way they would like to look at it?
I have good numbers in each of those. You probably have more relevant charms than I do.
Yeah, I'm looking through my charm set right now for awareness, excuse me.
I had to catch myself to not say investigation. as
Yeah,
well.
I know. The whole thing I'm looking at it is the majority of the stuff that Angler has is with looking underground and such. Is that something you would
That would be very relevant here.
Yeah, okay, then Angler will use all-encompassing earth sense and feeling the dragon's bones to just, as he's going around, just sending out that pulses through all the earth and rock and stone and such.
I'll assist with 5-fold resonance dance. Just throw up the old earth sense.
Yep.
What does that do, Loon?
You spend some time meditating, and then you gain. It's +3 on element-related extrasensory perception stuff.
Okay.
So, dirt sense. Enjoy your 5 helping dice.
All right, so yeah, 6 because of assisting rolls for dragon bloods.
Well, I was counting for that. That was 4
Oh,
on the
yeah.
roll.
Yeah.
And I could only go up to 20 dice anyway, so...
Only.
You go about that if you have a stunt? This is just a curiosity.
The way it works is that you can have a total of 10 contributing dice, 5 contributing successes.
And you can bank stunt dice for later, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to roll the 20 then. 8.
All right, 1 over. So it takes a lot of work. Like, this is probably a 2 or 3 day thing. Because this is, 4, 16, like, this is just like roughly 16 by 16 square mile area. There's a lot of ground to cover, and this is something where you are quickly realizing you need to cover it on foot, because this is a lot of meticulous examination, as the first thing that you notice when you do a flyby or you do a quick once over riding through, walking through, there ain't shit topside. There's nothing overtly weird or wrong or spooky or bad, or there's no, giant skull-shaped mountain. There's no, vessel. There's no giant swarm of soul steel boats.
Ground is
And
not bleeding or screaming.
Yeah, it's just it's land. It kind of has its vibes feel weird, but it's land. As you walk around with your pulsing activated, though, it starts to be much more noticeably bizarre. First of all, you can notice that the dragon lines in this area are completely fucked up. It is what basically remains of a half-fitted knitting project that a cat's got its hands on and just gone to town on. It's just utterly entangled and snared all over each other in a giant mess. There is no seeming logic that you can tease out as to what they're tangled and knotted together for. But what you can notice after a lot of very meticulous pulsing and examining the underground and using the assistance from Repose for specifically Earth Sense, is that there are points where if you were not very carefully paying attention, you would say the dragon lines just stop, like they start pooling or go somewhere else. But they just plunge straight down. Like they just stop, 90-degree point down, and go until you can no longer sense them. There is something deep, deep, deep underground that they are going towards. And from your explorations via all-encompassing Earth Sense and general pulsing for underground cave structures and things like that, you're not really sensing a particularly robust cave system or anything. Like you're sensing some underground pockets. You're sensing mostly aquifer, honestly. The layers of stone. There are some air pockets. There are some other pockets of, a couple of minerals here and there. But there's no big spooky cave system that you can feel the top side of or any, leadings into it. But something that just feels a little wrong is that with all of the dragon line energy that is going through here and being yanked downwards, you would expect more of it to be rubbing off on the land nearby. No, there's none of that. There is almost no wastage or resonance outward. There is something very greedily just dragging the entirety of the energy of the dragon lines once they're this far in, going, oh no, I want all of this. This doesn't go into the environment. This is mine.
Nesting.
I don't quite know where it's going, but it's greedy. It's hasty is what it feels like. Could I get underground?
What?
Could I get underground if I wanted to?
You would have to. There isn't really any. Like, you could go into some divots and animal dens and things like that, but like an actual going underground would require actually digging a hole or otherwise supernatural movement.
Talking to our navigation specialist around here, are there any local cave structures that we could possibly try to find a way into?
As I mentioned, there aren't really cave structures around here.
We do not.
Yeah, I know you said dens. I'm just more a matter of like immediately look around. It's more a matter of is there something within the reasonable distance away, like a day or two, that might be their ingress egress point?
No. The closest thing that you would have for a cave system would either be some of the underlying rock of the swamp, like limestone formations, or the rift itself. Like, this is all just kind of flat, well, hilly, but like not. The underground topology is just solid fucking rock.
My guess is the actual ingress point is in the underworld.
That would be, with one success, I will say that is your benefit, is that you can conclusively say, there is no ingress point from creation side. If there is something underground, it is so deep that you need supernatural power and or a secondary gate from the underworld to access it, because that shit's down maybe a mile or more.
So, if we can't find the endpoint, at least we can find the estimated point that they're going to be exiting the ground and such, right?
Okay.
But you already know 3 of them.
Yeah. If we know 3 of them, could we try to triangulate a
Well,
possible
you're
another
standing
location?
in the middle of the triangulation, is my point.
This is the
Okay.
triangulation.
So, okay.
And as far as we know, no, they aren't moving yet. So that's more a question of can we blind guess which direction they're going to go whenever they're going to feel ready to launch their attack? We don't know what their schedule is.
You don't know what's even going on.
Yeah.
That's just that there's something down there that is taking up a lot of energy.
We have a more precise point within this circle.
Well, if
Yeah,
we know, okay,
I would
if we have
say-
a more precise point, then we can talk to Koi about this, because if anyone could be able to figure out something dealing with ley lines or geomancy and stuff, it would be her.
Hang on.
Music?
No, I was just drawing a circle on the exact tile.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If we have an actual
Like
point
the
now,
whole circle is roughly the area of things that are weird, but that circle is probably the highest density of things going down.
I just had a dumb idea.
Go on.
Koi's really good at moving lots of water. What if we flood that area?
That is a dumb idea.
I mean, so I will say, number one, your general sense of the stone structure is that would do next to nothing, because it's mostly solid rock, and there is an aquifer there already. All you would do is you would just be putting water on top of a rock.
Okay.
Yeah, we're at the tangle point of the ley lines before they drop down. So it's probably the ley lines we want to start messing with if we want to get their attention.
Yes.
Who can untangle the ley lines?
Sounds
Looks at
all of us.
This would be the third step of the venture, is analyzing the information you have and trying to figure out the data that you have received. This would be either force or finesse, depending on the approach you use, and it does change the information you will get, plus sagacity.
I am looking through my charms.
I got nothing, boss.
Yep, this is probably a Milan or old man or repose thing.
Maybe, actually, Yang? How's Yang's?
Yang's got
A lot
good
of us have
sagacity.
full sagacity. The question is who has the best, moves to back that up
Gotcha.
with.
Yes.
Yeah, Yang has good sagacity
Of
on
medicine.
basis of being a doctor.
Yeah, there's not much I can do here.
This feels like a Milan old man collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, that great taste back again. Milan, an old man.
Repose was already out doing the surveying.
We need some wizard shit.
We do need wizard shit.
You have located the ley lines you have found are getting tied up in knots on each other and then just going straight down into the depths of the earth beyond your ability to sense. And the open question now is, okay, why is it like this? What's going on, and how do we mess with it? That is the third step of the venture.
Well, my first immediate thought is we gotta get some sorceress zip ties involved. Gotta get it nice and orderly, and then we can choke it out if we have to.
Ooh, I've got an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get in contact with the local terrestrial gods.
Like the local elementals or the local gods? Okay.
Yes. Let's have them start messing with it. The stuff.
I'm not gonna make you roll. There aren't any around here.
Damn.
Like, there is a extremely suspicious lack completely of elementals.
Damn. Okay.
Like, you could tell pretty much immediately upon like searching and realizing is, yeah, step one of creating a horrible vibes or rancid geomancy project is you kill all of the elementals that would make this a problem for you, or who would be trying to fix it.
Let's see.
So we set up a tiny preliminary camp and start digging ditches.
Yeah, pretty much. It sounds like it's ditch digging time.
Also camp.
Mm-hmm.
So if Milan and Old Man want to start zip tying these,
Again, the roll for this would be force sagacity plus whatever charms or sorceries that you have. That would be relevant.
okay, I can offer up a force sagacity, excellency with my ally Koi merit as 3 additional dice because she has taught me a lot of
that would be very relevant. Mm-hmm.
That is 17 dice.
All right, go ahead and roll.
Eight successes.
All right, 1 threshold over. So you sit down and using the forceful approach of just raw knowledge, raw brute force understanding of it, rather, because it is clear when you're looking at, okay, you could try to tease out a pattern here. You could try to figure out what's going on. But you quickly come to one conclusion. If this is something where the pattern of all these snarls is important, then sorting it out would destroy it. And if it's something where it's not important and it's just an emergent process, then sorting it out helps you figure it out yourself and does nothing to alert them. So either it is going to assist you in your plan of pissing them off, or it's going to help you actually manipulate it later down the line. So there's no downside to actually just untangling all of this. Beyond the possibility of annoying them early. In terms of what exactly is making them tangle, you're not entirely sure beyond Koi has mentioned that dragon lines have their own patterns and flows that they like to do, and if you don't carefully manage them, then it can get... Again, you already, like, Doc already brought up the metaphor of putting zip ties for your cables. It's that kind of thing, is that if you don't have a plan, all the cables behind your computer are just going to become a rat's nest once you have enough of them. It's just how it works. So
okay, so it's the natural actings of the dragon lines that have coiled themselves in weird ways.
Yeah, it is unlikely that it is the direct desire for them to be like this as part of a plan. It may be a nice side effect for them because it makes it more irritating for anybody to mess with it because they have to untangle all of the lines.
Well, Milan's going to get started actually starting to untangle this mess in a way that doesn't immediately alert anyone to our presence.
Okay, so there is still a little extra information from your role as well. You also have a fairly decent idea to of number one, how this is happening. You have a decent theory, and number two, why it is exhibiting the strange properties that it does. Your best guess for how this is happening and why this is happening. Koi has mentioned before that when you want to do geomancy respectfully, safely, in a way that does not overtly tax the landscape, in a way that maintains... when you are moving something, or you are trying to finesse it, or you're trying to change a property, but you're not trying to just kind of stab and cut and force your way into having it work, what you do is you use elements against each other. You play off, water will break against a stone wall, but the stone wall will erode, or, the wind, the wind will freeze the water, the fire will burn down the wood. you use elements to attract and repel each other, and you give them the path of least resistance, and that is where a dragon line will go. You carve the riverbanks, and then the water will flow. You don't grab the water and move it, because you can't do that. What you do is you set the environment up around it for it to go. This is not operating on that principle. You don't see any sort of geomantic posting, you don't see any, like, pillars, you don't see any sort of monoliths, you don't see anything that you can really sabotage topside in terms of overt routing stones or things that would be of use to a geomancer to manipulate the elements, which leaves you with one possible idea as to how this is working, because you, again, don't see any way that explains what they're doing, which means that there has to be something somewhere you can't see. And you already know that there's somewhere you can't see, way below your feet. And you think of it, again, like water. What do you do when you want to move water and you don't care how it gets there? You set up a differential of pressure.
Okay, I've just had an incredibly awful...
And a 4-degree incline.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I've just had a terrible idea. So looking at the ley lines that are going in, Milan's going to notice the fire ley line and where that's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Directly south to the wildfire pocket.
Yeah, that would probably be the highest density of the fire lines. And again, it's not one of each, it is as many as that it can grab.
Hey, what if we shove the Fae into his ley lines thing? What if we just shove elves down there?
Do you know how to put Raksha into a ley line and keep them there?
It's just the crazy idea of, okay, how do we open the tap into the...
Do you want permanent damage to the ley lines afterwards?
Not really.
It'd be full of elf juice. I feel like that'd probably be problematic for in the long run as well.
Yeah.
Number one, that is very much good luck figuring out how. And number two, okay, you figured out how. The entire line all the way here is now a super fun site.
It was an interesting thought. However, the interesting thought led to this being a bad idea.
Milan hits every idea before. This is how Milan thinks. This is okay.
I understand it. Yeah, personally.
Yep.
Milan's answer to how am I going to fix this is I'm going to become the Joker.
No, that's a terrible idea.
The court at the wildfire pockets, which essentially all we know about them is that for quite a while they have been staring down all the the tasty humans in the iron dust factory, laying siege to them, harassing and cajoling them, and opportunistically picking them off for quite a while.
Yeah.
Long enough that there's probably definitely factions among them, at least, who are getting bored of playing that game.
That would not be an unreasonable conclusion, yeah.
So if someone showed up and told them that a new guy just dropped, new adversary has moved in, who have no standing contracts,
no defenses, no idea, no nothing, no rules.
Skeleton warriors.
Now, if only we had an in into some sort of Raksha court, like, I don't know, some sort of crab?
Jesus Christ, that's like a 10-month long fucking payoff if you do use him. If not longer.
So we're planning a siege. There are room for many moving parts to be set in motion. So, one, try to provoke the Raksha at the wildfire pockets into starting to campaign against whatever is going on over here. Where, Repose would not be the person to start suggesting it, but after he has a bit of an opportunity to, rinse the bad taste out of his mouth, that any who are convinced to come out and do this, throwing one enemy of the world against another, that's a thing you do sometimes, because you have to.
Yep. That's classics of post, yeah.
Also, convincing the Fae to exit the wild and enter the world puts them at a disadvantage compared to when they are lurking deep inside wild pockets where they control the narrative. So even if they do decide to then wander off and cause problems, that's a relatively known and controllable problem to hunt down any stragglers who cause shenanigans.
As part of going to this new area, they have to sign the terms and conditions of you exist in shapes now.
They will need to put on hats and the rest of their bodies in order to come over here. So, yeah, that one line of that will apply pressure and also in a way that is distracting from everyone else and what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We could start that up at any time. So, other things to do. Repose is definitely, as we are closing in on, yep, this is definitely the place and the thing is happening, we'll send word back to the rest of the Order that, alright, we got him, let's lay a siege, let's see what can be done with this.
Alright,
Mobilize the assets that we have.
You would actually get a message back through the reliquary that it is not a pressing and urgent concern, but it's not too far from one. When you get the chance, they would like to see you personally back at the Abbey.
Ominous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would actually take... They would take care in the phrasing of, it is not ominous, this is just... It is an exciting deal, but if you are dealing with the enemies of creation, it can wait.
And there will be time for that.
Mm-hmm.
Since I picture, even just vague, arbitrary number ballpark, we probably do the move over the course of the next month.
Yeah, this is going to be a month minimum to set up the level of geomancy to even start messing with this. Because again, there's nothing topside to mess with. You're going to have to construct your own network to try to counteract whatever negative pressure sinkhole is down there. Just grabbing ley lines and dragging them down by sheer force of vacuum. Which is also, I was going to mention...
Get local ghosts mobilized over, hey, one of those fuckers is out here.
Alright.
Mm-hmm.
In the continuing of
our zone.
Recruiting NPCs that I don't think Darren would ever thought would show up again.
Go on, I love this happening.
If we are attempting to navigate some sort of underworld river or something like that, what if we got party boat
Skeleton warriors.
Skeleton warriors.
I may have had skeleton warriors as a card up my sleeve for later, but hey, if you're asking for party boat to come back...
I am always thinking about party boat coming back. The man who has originally had a tie with party boat.
Yup.
Yes.
Oh my god, we're getting inside saboteurs.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I won't lie. I've had up my sleeve for a very long time that Party Boat would be coming in around the time that the Underworld gets involved again, but you proposing it? Yeah, let's go.
Yes. We have inside friends. Once again, turns to the camera and says, don't judge everybody immediately. You never know when you're going to need somebody.
You never know when you might need a party boat full of skeletons to start some shit.
Milan goes to the camera, starts to talk about the Fae pockets, and immediately gets punched.
Okay, look.
Don't judge a crab by its shell, and then you immediately get punched by like a fucking lion man.
There are some things that you judge immediately.
Absolutely judge the Fae.
So, other checklist things, the Inquisitor and whatever he has access to under his command should be tipped off that to, fortify and be on the lookout, to be ready to do some busting.
Yep.
Similarly, swamp bandits could be put on notice in case anything tries to go swampwards abruptly.
You do know that some of the dragon lines are being pulled out of the swamp from the conversation earlier, so they already know something is up, so...
Old Northton.
Yeah, they're nearby.
Yep, they definitely need to be advised about situation.
And they are also
and
an
put on
ancestor
guard.
cult.
Yep.
If only we had some sort of alliance that we could organize all these people. Oh, wait.
The Alliance goes home and has like 3 days of peace before Obsidian sends a mail like, hey, by the way.
Okay, now that everyone's signed the military alliance,
Surprise.
war were declared.
War were declared.
One
War were
day
declared
advances
against the
call to
underworld.
arms.
It's the fucking every time you make an alliance with an AI in a map game and they immediately declare war on an enemy like 5 times their size because they're like, the human will help me.
We got him.
There is a 60-point prestige penalty if you do not accept this call to arms.
Yeah.
Victory points.
Okay, so Milan absolutely wants to be a part of Team Hey, let's go talk to the Fae. That's not a terrible idea.
I love how this keeps coming up.
Alright. Does anyone who isn't me have integrity protecting principle? Chaos
I
warding
also have it.
I don't know whether I'm glad or disappointed you asked that now.
And also a reminder that the Dragon Blood version does allow you to extend it to your Hearthmates.
Yes.
Yep.
Does anyone other than me have wild shielding?
Better fucking
Okay.
believe I don't.
That one, I believe, is
Okay.
only you.
I am. What is wild shielding required? Because I'm currently sitting on a free charm point.
It is an
Oh.
integrity move.
I don't remember if I mentioned this last time.
Just
but-
integrity 2, no other prereqs.
Cool, I can buy that.
Yeah, I was going to say, last session was also absolutely a major milestone and a charm.
Oh god, I'm sitting on 2 charms I could buy. I haven't.
I don't understand the EXP
I haven't
system.
bought
We can go
anything
over
in
it.
a while.
It's wonky, but
I haven't bought anything in a while.
I haven't bought anything ever.
Well, I think at this point we're putting together the to-do list for scenes to have play out.
Yes.
yes.
I have
Next
integrity
session,
protecting
mostly.
principle.
Mhm.
I have it written down as chaos warding principle, but that's the
Yes.
dragon blood.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the Dragon Blood upgrade.
that's the-
Do we all just have this minus Yang?
Did everyone but Yang buy wild armor after Wild
Did-
Adventure?
Despite the fact that
surprised?
Yang was the one who almost lost his sense of self and body.
Just never go in the wild again.
Yang has the correct idea, actually. The rest of us are like, yeah, we're going to go back in there. And Yang's just like, no, fuck it. Let's just not
we're
do
gonna go
that.
I
back
don't need protection if I never go back in there. What's wrong with you?
Milan goes in, walks out as a crab. I got them on board.
You still have the mustache and the hat.
Also, I've advanced to my next form. Milan
mean,
has
also-
entered a new phase.
I don't have any armor. What are you talking about? It's this old man who is the most thoroughly mutated by it.
Also, now you're a celestial exalt, so
Yeah, it happens.
I frankly
Sort
don't
of.
really want to go back in there myself amidst life from body, but if we have to do it, I'll do it.
Alright, so I'm seeing a feasible, like, 3-3 split to do of Angler, Milan, and Obsidian approach the Fae Court.
surprised you're not volunteering yourself, but I also realize that would probably mean it would immediately end in violence.
Approaching the Fae Court to do anything but assault them.
Yeah. Yeah. Angler, Obsidian, Milan, and then Old Man, Repose, and Yang would do question mark?
Also,
Hi, Jinx.
the
Also,
diplomacy
assault the
party
fake or
excluding the Janissary from their ranks while approaching will lend credibility to the fact that
No, we don't actually want
they're
to kill
actually
you.
doing this.
We have a hearth brother that could tie
Then you
you
can
all
present
into
the
a
idea
pretzel.
of we're saying this behind that guy's back.
Yeah.
This is a secret. Ooh.
Yeah,
Whiskey
actually,
man.
yeah.
Y'all like secrets, right? Y'all fucking sickos with that.
Yeah, since that would create a Yang old man and obsidian side of, or repose side of
Repose,
things. Second
Obsidian.
obsidian. Obsidian will be in many teams.
Hey guys, I learned how to duplicate myself.
Yang
Look, I
old
know
man
Obsidian's a
Repose
big guy, but
to-
he can't be in 2 places at once.
Says you.
to start building the siege works in the vicinity of the adventure zone, and also doing other war planning elsewhere. Like Propose will go back and do visit to home,
Yeah.
collect news.
Okay. So, Fey Court is its I'm looking at the time and seeing which one I want to prioritize, and I would ask, of all of these, I think Abbey, Fey Court, and like whatever other one major scene would all individually be scenes, and you can, if we had to do one tonight, which one would you want to do tonight?
My brain is not in a place to do fake court.
All right, that answers that. So probably preparing siege works, and then the Abbey will be the remainder of the night.
Could prepare siege works.
So that in and of itself would be its own venture that you all will be contributing to. I feel like that's one of the example ones even, but let me look.
Unless others had thoughts about other things. I don't want to make every decision here.
You're the war guy.
Well, I meant more like, would
Which
Abby
scene,
team,
I think.
Abby team prefer to do Abby scene?
I have no opinions one way or the other.
Yeah, like I said, this is a lower energy setting up things for later for the end game spread of events kind of episode. Either way.
All right, so I feel like the groundwork of our like siege and ambush and landscaping plans in this vicinity is Repose can do a lot of the physical work involved with
Yes.
obscene efficiency.
Yes.
Quickening the Forge / Blazing Dragon Arete commit to reduce the time scale of a venture by 1 step, 2 steps if using natural materials, which throwing dirt and wood around into appropriate piles, yep.
Yeah,
feel
so
like-
that would take it down from 1 session to 1... I don't remember how this fucking scale goes. 1 session to... It gets down to a scene, yeah.
Gets down to small.
Yeah.
So I feel like step 1 of the process is Yang vanishes into the wilderness for a while and then comes back with a list of ideas
Yeah.
for mischief.
Yang would probably do the scouting and general, messing around with the supernatural or examining weird flaws, poking the
Professional
undead.
stuff touching, of course.
Yeah, professional, stuff poking. And then Old Man would be the one handling the geomantic untying of cables and zip tying together in a more orderly fashion for more efficient sabotage later.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and so like, and then after all of that planning and like bits of preliminary groundwork are done, Repose can just kind of show up after having done other things and do the brute force shoving of dirt around to abruptly start causing problems.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sketching and surveying that happens gradually at low heat, and then we spike up the amount of noise that we are making very abruptly.
You would basically have it so you have set it up that all you need to do is start kicking giant craters in the earth or lines, and then you would be severing dragon lines or redirecting them, and everything would start going wrong. So for
Show up with the pickaxe and start drawing a straight line through a hill.
Bulb, except it's a fucking mining implement. So I think instead of a traditional venture for this, because of all of your efficiency charms, I'm going to have you make the best roll you can of your choice of attribute plus crafts. And you may add on charms and any other justifications that you may like. While Yang, in the meantime, roll me finesse navigate. Similarly, you may add whatever you like.
Let me look at my charms.
And Old Man, I would say, is finesse sagacity with whatever sorcery or charm or justification you have for an idea of Old Man, particularly doing Old Man shit to mess this up real good as bonuses.
Alright, I'm going to use Trackless Region Navigation, which is just the Exalted understanding of the land is intuitive and unsurpassed, allowing her to survive and find her way with ease. Which I feel like applies here.
Yes.
Just be a good wayfinder. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot of ones.
Is that a botch?
No, that is not a botch. You got successes, so it's not a botch. I'm just noting that, damn, that was a not very fortunate roll for you.
Look, it's a rant a day.
Yeah. I think I can actually do something interesting with that. Just narratively speaking, out of... So, what Yang does is generally go again around scouting the area and the outskirts, but less out of the, pulsing the earth and checking the cave systems and seeing, okay, this has been a lot of Dragonline activity. What has happened to the local ecology? What has happened to the local area? And as was noted earlier, there has been very little bleed out from the Dragonlines in terms of excess energy, because the pressure from whatever is below is so intense that any excess wastage resonance that would otherwise be going into the environment to alter it is just being yanked down. Which also means that the usual way of the land being sustained by excess essence coming out of a Dragonline isn't really happening. So what you note is that the plant life is starting to get a little frail. Not like dead or mutated or... It's like it's having a bad year. It's having for a fact that this has been a pretty decent year for growing, especially in this area. Oh god, excuse me. But just if you were looking at this place, you would expect, is this place going through a drought? Is there some sort of blight going around? Everything is kind of weedy and clinging on and just having a real bad time of it. But it is still sustaining itself, which in and of itself is interesting, because if this was a complete vampirization of all of the energy in the area, this would all be dead. This would all be like the wound that you found back when you fought the Bronze Axe, where the area was just dead. And Yang, I would say, would pretty quickly come to the conclusion after what Yang has been through. This is not obviously not meant to be subtle, as this is an entire regional change in the Dragonlines, but it is meant to be subtle to the extent of it is not blasting this entire 16 square miles into a dead zone. This could be more efficient, this could be more dangerous and deadly and completely extractive of all energy. But they haven't gone all that way, and why is his shrug. From the perspective of a completely extractionist mindset, there's still a lot here on the table, and it's not being used.
There's some things nailed down. Not nailed down still. What the fuck? Boy.
Yeah, so that's an open question of if this is a complete strip the earth, use all of the energy to do question marks, why isn't it, a completely barren wasteland already. Like, you give it 3 or 4 months and it might start being on the way to one, but it's odd. It is a thing to consider as to what may be going on below or the long-term plan. Alice, there you go.
I have my plan for the centerpiece thing to do here.
Okay.
So, the situation we have is that according to very detailed surveys by heroic and storied experts on the subject, there's plenty of energy flowing into this area from all of the surrounding environs.
Uh-huh.
This is good land. Definite, certified good land. A lot of power is flowing in, and we stop talking at that moment. We just talk about how much good energy is flowing in this direction. Repose is going to begin the procedures for building a manse as though this were an active domain. He's going to build manse foundations and manse skeleton that will then sit there vacant, wanting energy to pour into the structure.
Oh my god.
That, if it were allowed to continue being constructed, would get increasingly frustrated that the land is not paying out.
Oh my god, we're
and
creating
delivering unto it what it is owed.
We're creating an upflow. All right.
You're fucking edging a building is what you are.
This is some kaiji shit.
So, like, as the scouting is getting settled in and the surveying is beginning, Propose just goes to a nice spot in the middle of a clearing and drives a stake into the ground, and over the course of a day uses the shadows that fall off of it to measure a bunch of compass directions and draw out a fundamental geometric diagram. And then just start, before leaving to go do other things, knowing that he's going to come back and do much worse things later, just flattens out an area of dirt. Leaves a bunch of little talismans of notice on some good construction-grade trees that he would like to solicit their use in a work of architecture.
Roll me force presence with a stunt, and no, I'm not explaining why.
I have written this venture onto my sheet as housing mistake. It's free real estate.
That's a really good roll.
Note down that you have 5 threshold successes. I'm not explaining. You don't know what that did. It will be a while until it is apparent what that did.
Can anyone truly know what that just did?
Grover
So
Hicks.
noted. Look, we will have extensive ditches to drain and manage the water that isn't there.
God.
Nice flat land, that doesn't matter.
Everything is sculpted so that it would sing beautifully if the wind would just blow from the west ever at the right speed. It's going to be very nice. We're going to make it
would
nice.
Be immaculate if it was not a 360 view of garbage, but aesthetically pleasing.
It's
All
a
right.
perfectly good house. And something to do with locations. There is a very nice picture of what the house is going to look like that has been left there at the future site of this house.
If it was ever anything besides overcast, the sun would come in through a delightful angle.
God, you can just see how comfortable the hearth in the middle of that common area would be if someone would just light the fire.
Potential future luxury estate.
Seeking investors.
Can Yang just put up a for sale sign while you're doing this?
Yeah, fuck it.
Oh, we're going to solve this problem, fix the ley lines, and then everything is going to explode as all the energy just slams back into this man's heart
It's
as
going
possible.
to hit this house. And things will happen.
Just the explosion at the end of Tremors 2. Just boom!
Instead
What are
of,
we going to
you know,
sell this house to then? If it needs to be someone who could survive that.
the solar?
Sybil's like, you built me a house that explodes? Yeah!
Specifically,
Wants to
so-
live at Danger House.
So, I do not really know what charm I would end up using here, because I must confess, Old Man
Yeah.
is like 12 to 15 sessions behind.
Yeah.
What do you want to do narratively, if anything?
Well, narratively, it's going to be of Old Man tapping into the fact that his sorcery, just in general, functions off of natural flow of life and energy in general,
What
which
if
is
you use
pretty
a
much what the
fuse
ley
box?
lines do.
What if you use you as a fuse?
Slot myself in there and just kind of like get it
Just
with my
complete a
extremely
circuit.
long neck. Go ahead and mess up his pots
Yeah.
and pans.
Yeah, no, just complete the circuit. Just like do Twister, and be the
Old Man just
weirdest
starts
living fuse
chewing
box.
on the metaphysical wires a little bit.
Yeah.
Roll
Maybe
me.
that's my idea. I don't know. You might probably have something better.
Old Man is pissing in the creek leading into the...
You have never seen Old Man piss. Do not even try to claim it. No
My
one ever
internal
has.
alchemy is immaculate, without waste.
If he had to, that would be an example of waste, exactly. And he would never do that.
Heroes don't do that.
No, heroes do. Only Old Man doesn't.
Only villains do this.
I can't believe I got up to pet my cat and I came back to Old Man's piss.
No, he doesn't. That's the problem.
You know the image of Calvin pissing and grinning?
That but Old Man?
Yeah, that bit old man.
And just like that image was not
Was
not
not
signed
actually
by
It's
the
extremely
creator.
incorrect.
Yeah, no, not even. Yeah, no.
I mean, that morning
Not
dew
even
has to
close.
go somewhere, right?
No, it doesn't. That's why it goes directly into Old Man and then just stays
Are
there
we
forever.
ready to go?
We
Tiny?
are on a globe, the antipode of the home of challenge pissing. What is the antipode of Baltimore, actually?
Antipody.
Antipody, thank you.
Probably somewhere above Australia, like almost every other place in the United States.
Well, Baltimore's a cesspit, then we need something that's gilded. So San Francisco.
Well, if it's over
Uh,
Australia, good luck finding anything that'll fit that.
Just off the coast of Australia.
Mm.
Tunisia.
So the closest
That's
city
the
you get
place
is
to be.
Augusta,
Tunisia.
Australia.
Got to get to Tunisia.
I want to go to Tunisia.
This old man
All right,
gonna
well, I'm gonna
rattle
do some
bones.
finesse sagacity is probably gonna be the way to do this.
I would accept finesse sagacity or fortitude integrity to just tank it.
Good news, both of those is the same.
So you can pick which one narratively you would like to do.
Well, okay, so the long and short of this is what this ends up being is that Old Man just starts this as a normal gathering of sorceress modes. Because again, that's how he would end up messing. This is fundamentally how he casts magic in the first place.
This is not,
And well, he will direct it gently. So yeah, it's gonna be a force sagacity. Finesse sagacity here.
Yep.
Like he's going to gently do the untangling and just like fix it as best he can.
All right, go ahead and do that with the stunt.
A mere 5.
5 is enough for this. So you are able to very carefully, a bit slower than you initially thought you would take, but still very carefully and meticulously unsnarl the ley lines without ever severing them or pulling them out of wherever they're going. It is a lot of very strange occult topography and like those rope tricks where it's like, oh, these are all tangled, but you can get them untangled by moving the loops together in a certain way. That kind of stuff, but like via magical occult stuff. And when it would defy usual topographical movements, you're a wizard. You can make it happen anyway. Fuck you.
Listen, I'm going to pull this my headphones out of my pocket, and yes, they're going to be tangled into the most impossible mess possible because I put them in there a minute ago and they're already like that. But I'm an expert. I know how to get these detangled. It's fine.
Exactly.
Just gives it a small shake.
Yeah, so Old Man would be spending a lot of time, probably like the entire narrative time for the rest of everybody else doing their thing, just getting them untangled. And
Not a
would
problem.
Yeah, and would actually probably note in the meantime of doing that as you sort them out, you get to get ideas of where they're coming from, and you do notice, yeah, there's a fire one coming from the wild pocket down south. There's a water one coming from the river up to the north. There's wood coming in from the nearby inundated valley. Just in general, the one that you would say stands out as a little odd is one of the water lines that is coming in from the swamp has a bit of stank on it, and you can recognize it as because you've been up there and sorcery and things like that. It is probably remnant stank from being nearby the binding site of the second circle demon. So one of the dragon lines that is getting yanked down here is proximate enough to have picked up some sort of corruption. Whether or not that's intentional or not, unsure. But you can definitely say, okay, it is messing with the geomancy around the binding area. What that means? Shrug.
We should probably snip that one.
What that means is we can add a swimming pool to the house.
I do recommend that we snip that one.
Heated swimming pool, which also has a sauna. It's a very nice house.
I want to make a water wheel.
You could have the swimming pool, just make sure it
wheels.
empties out into the pool and then it just goes elsewhere.
It wouldn't power anything. I just think they're cool. You can make it turn like a spit roast or something.
You just dig a ditch and then you put in a water wheel and then you just start pouring buckets of water in it to see it spin, and it doesn't actually have any sort of current.
We harness the wind to drive this wheel to circulate the water in the pool.
Of all the things, I could actually point to a charm to assist in digging.
Oh yeah, you
Probably
could
be yelling it apart.
Yeah, you're sort of.
Can you just yell at the floor so we can get a well?
I could yell at the sky and cause it to suddenly start raining, for he is the old man Haderach.
Fuck you.
Yes.
This too is the legend.
So. Sorry, that y'all are getting very good at just factory resetting my brain as I open my mouth.
We can have one or more horses walk to drive a wheel to pump water from one end of the pool to the other end of the pool.
If only we had that water.
So, I will say, with the initial preparations complete, I am good to do the. I'm good to do the Abbey scene, and then I think I'll be good to call it there. Sound good?
All right.
So let me just go over and prepare that map. Would anyone go home with Repose, or would this be a Repose solo thing? This isn't just an open question to the crew. If they knew Repose was going home to check on
He
something.
has no reason.
Yeah, no is a valid answer, yeah.
I don't
Sound-
believe so.
Yep, sounding like a no. Okay, so
Yeah,
solo
forget
scene.
them.
Alright, so
Repose just vigorously jogs his way back,
yep.
as we're done before.
Alright, so the monastery, when you arrive, is in a state of hustles and bustles. The mortal lay folk and the mortal clergy are around, and when they see you, give rather kind of exuberant greetings, more animated than you usually expect. The tone, kind of unusually around here, is excited and anticipatory.
Football.
Mm-hmm. Both in the football sense, but yeah, actually roll me finesse integrity, because there's something you can't quite put your finger on additionally. It's the buzzing excitement of something happened that they're still figuring out, but they're really excited about it.
Good news?
Yeah, good news.
Good news.
Confusing possibly, but good news. So, you would just approach the cenotaph of the 100,000, and one thing you immediately note is that the local cats are all just kind of around in the main courtyard. They're not. A lot of them that you rarely see are like off in the village, or hiding in a house, or otherwise. They're all out, just kind of around right now.
Everyone's here.
Yep, just kind of just sunning themselves, being around. A couple of them swatting at each other, sitting in circles, doing the slow blinks. And you see Azar come out of the central temple complex, having obviously seen you come up and starting to give respects. And she is holding Chief gently in her arms, and Chief is just kind of very slow, swishing tail, and seems to be remarkably calm. Samandar?
Repose is just kind of.
There is
The waves are emitting into the ground. He is emitting a tone.
Yeah.
Just a seismic response of
I don't. I can't say I know what has happened, but I know something has, and This may be the first time you have ever seen your mother kind of in the same lost for words kind of stammering motion. As, like, it is clear that she is in a state of excitement where she is trying to compose herself, but is failing, and not the usual way she fails, where it is obviously like tense and bad at it. It's more like it's like seeing somebody excited about getting married, or that kind of emotion of anticipatory joy, and not in the sense of the violence kind. What happened?
Long, slow, audible, breathe in. Kind of a bit of a look of, all right, we should proximity here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of expression that is known between the two of them from just like his entire life of being here. And then just after a lot of trying to get synchronized, a lot of just internal, wait, all right, got to choose most, best, good, right word for the thing. Cannot find word good enough. Send help.
For once, you don't feel any pressure to go faster from Azar. She is letting you take your time.
And just after some amount of that, and probably some amount of like prodding and rumbling from Mode, we were seen.
So it was you. It was us. It was us. It wasn't just... How?
Fast forward through more
Mm.
time spent composing, just time lapse.
Yeah.
Sun moves through the sky a bit as though conversation had happened, but they're just cut back.
They're
to
just
still
still
the
just
awkward
kind of
silence.
finding the words for each other.
And then finally, kind of slumping forward a bit, resting on staff. First, to have it said, to give what little credit is due. Bit of internal frustrated rumbling. Then finally, just very quietly, just between the two of them, there is a solar in these lands.
Slow exhale and nod in the sense of, damn it, but also that makes a lot of this make sense.
They are neither one remaining from the old days, nor are they part of this new generation. They are, as far as I am aware, one of the parting rays of light which have crept into the world over the times between.
And managed to stay around.
More of a pause, more of a building up of energy, and then frustrated sigh. I do not like her.
I would be astounded if you did.
This does not mean that she has not been of use, and may remain of worth.
That is about the highest praise I could expect you to give one of their kind. So clearly, she was integral into whatever She lets you continue, realizing that she doesn't want to cut that off.
Once he has passed that barrier of having finally spoken of and commented on Sybil at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As has been said, one of our present adversaries is a wayward minister from the city.
That
has
makes
engaged
her,
in a great degree of misconduct. We were finally successful in raising complaint regarding his misdeeds.
What? Wait. She just stares with her jaw slightly adjusted, like facial expression asking, "You don't mean like to?" Just silently, like head down, leaning in forward, jaw open, like that.
I was not the one who dared call out his name. In order to make a request.
She pauses.
Just kind of a like knowing look of you can connect the dots here. The solar other person was of help in doing that.
Yeah.
And for one brief, wondrous moment, we were seen.
Tell me, was this on the 14th of Wood? And out of character, yes, it was.
Nodding.
I have a story to tell you, but first, she just looks you up and down, looking at the tanning on the skin. Are you all right?
I think so. I also think you would know better than I. I've always trusted you to know.
I cannot. Before I understand, it pains me as much as you to say this, but I can't hold the words in. I cannot thank you or this solar enough, because whatever it is that you may have done, what they saw, it was not just that. At sundown on that day, at when it must have happened, we received an omen. Here, I will. She just generally gestures with Chief.
Yeah, we're going.
Going, talking, and walking.
Talking
Goes,
and walking at increasing speed.
As she explains, we observed that there was a near conjunction overhead, and we were making the proper respect and ritual for that to observe whatever manner of portent was important enough to command the attention of Sol Invictus and his consort. But as that was happening, we noticed something strange. And this is about the point where you get up to the temple of the Tomb of the Grand Abbess. At first we thought they were gone. And when she says they, it is unclear what she means for a moment until you notice she glances down at Chief and then around at the other cats around the abbey. It was unnerving to look around and not see any of them underfoot until we noticed that they were standing as though at guard upon the walls. They all were on vigil. They were all atop the roofs and along the walls, and all sitting as though stone lions guarding our boundaries and casting their gaze west towards the sun, towards the sunset. And she gestures again to the window, which is designed to let in the setting sun into the tomb of the Grand Abbess. And at the time, I was worried when I didn't see him, because I hadn't seen him all day. And she is now looking down at Chief, who is now just giving a slow blink upon realization that he is being talked about. Chief is getting older. And, well, you know as well as I at this point what a cat that hides and does not wish to be found is often prefacing, but when I went to investigate, and I went to the window, I saw Chief. I saw him sitting in the sunbeam, framed by the setting sun, and she actually stops and composes herself before reaching into the pocket of one of her robes very, very gently. It's all right. It's all right. You can come out. Before gently, like she is cradling like she was cradling another child, brings out a tiny mouse in one hand with a golden sunburst in its fur along its back. On Chief's paws as he was sleeping in the sunlight was this. He saw us. The light was shining into the tomb. He saw us. He saw you. He saw the abbess. The sunlight went into the tomb, onto the sarcophagus. And she just holds out the small mouse, which is grooming himself. He sent a blessing. He saw who we are, and he sent a blessing. For the first time in 800 years, he answered. And it was not a rebuke.
Prolonged, reverent silence. Probably only sound audible is the mouse crunching away.
Yep. Just grooming fur, licking paws. Moat actually just kind of walking up and very not leaning up and or going up to get at, but like sniffing up at the air towards the mouse, which looks down over the hand like, oh yeah, another one of you. Hi. Where Chief actually is completely among the calmest you have ever seen him, and is normally would, small animal nearby Chief is dead small animal, but the small mouse has absolutely no fear of Chief, and Chief's response is just, yeah, it's a cool little guy. Azar looks back down. At first, I thought perhaps it was just a blessing upon us, as upon us, and she uses the term in Old Realm specifically when referring to us, the living, rather than us, the ancestry, or us, the family, or us, the dead. But if he saw you, if he heard your prayer, and he did this, and he saw you, he had to have seen you. He would know you. He would know us. All of us. And he sent this to all of us. Every. She's actually one of the few times you have ever seen her trying to compose herself to not cry.
Propose will beat her to it. Just allow tears to quietly flow. Move in, lean in. Take hand with mouse. The little mouse scurries on top of your hand to not get squished, but takes a look at you curiously. Very just kind of curious scrutinization. When I spoke with the abbess, she actually stops and puts a hand over her throat, takes a breath in. A ray of sunlight got through the lid. They could see the sun. And they weren't afraid. The elders are still. The message is clear, but what to do with it, what it means, and the extent is, they've been quite vigorously debating, but if one thing else is clear, it's he has seen them and he has forgiven them. And before, like, her dam breaks at that point, and she pulls you in by the hand and just drags you into a vice grip hug that Chief is in the middle of, and doesn't even squeak in protest. He's just vibing in there. He's just... You have never felt or seen the level of gratitude that Azar is expressing ever to anyone, not even to the Grand Abbess. That will be carefully returned, and that will just persist for a while.
Probably fade out at that point.
Yeah, and that
We'll
is
have to
basically
fade out
seen.
of the details of, hey, we're having the best day over here.
Yeah, that is basically scene end of Yeah, one of the benefits of that gigantic roll, and you particularly taking the prayer response, is that would force Sol Invictus to realize, wait, I have an ancestor cult. How do I feel about that? And he settled on, you know what? They've done enough cool stuff. They're off the list.
Look at them. Yeah, they got good vibes.
I mean, like, I can make an exception for these folk. They seem cool.
I have
And
a mouse.
yeah, the entire family of the Vigil
Wait,
is
when
off
was
the
the
list.
last time I checked the roll of martyrs? Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah,
hold
basically
on.
he went and actually looked at the stuff of the Vigil and took the entire family lineage off the Creatures of Darkness list and is much more consciously aware of, oh wow, oh shit, wow, you've been busy, holy crap. Like, you know, in the distant sun way, but like, even a slight glance from the sun at a devoted worshipper is going to get a lot of contextual information, so he kind of had all of his unread emails read at once the moment he looked at you.
Oh, right, those motherfuckers.
Oh man, goddamn! I left them on red for this long. Oh
I should probably.
man,
should
I need to
probably
do
do
something.
something
Oh
about that.
man, oh I feel like shit. Oh,
That's a bit of a dick move.
Wait, I own a cat, right? I own hundreds of cats.
Oh,
Thousands of
fuck, the cat
cats.
called. Shit, right.
where did
should
all
open the
these
door for the
cats
cats.
come from on the list of martyrs?
Is that why there was a cat scratching at the fuck? Ah, man, I'm neglectful.
How does a cat get on the list of martyrs? And then he opens it up and starts reading the reasons. Holy shit! How many unread messages? Oh no!
I should probably send down Squeakers as an apology. Let them know.
Yeah.
Go give him a cool mouse.
Part backlog.
God. And yeah, with that, we can call it a session.
Yes, football.
Now you have expressly, divinely condoned, witnessed, and approved of
Howdy.
football. God, I love these drawings already.
Hey, what's up?
Luna, I thought you were taking care of the cats. The cats were yours. What? So yeah, next time, continuing preparations for the siege on whatever the hell is going on in the Mystery Zone. Discussions of very bad ideas with the Fae, because that might go good places, unironically.
It's free real estate.
And preparations for the endgame, which approaches.
Does all these good feeling people who are now on the good list want to go do a war?
And we now have a bunch of war ghosts who are immune to the collateral damage from lighting
war
the spark.
ghosts that could go in the sunlight.
War ghosts who can just kind of walk around topside.
War ghosts that move on their own.
Walking bones. Next
Turn a
time.
party boat.
Maybe not next time, but definitely soon. Return of Party Boat.